Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of American history that was deliberately buried for almost 100 years. We're talking about one of the most horrific acts of racial violence this country has ever seen.
It's a pretty shocking question, right? But here's the thing, this isn't a hypothetical. For almost an entire century, this is exactly what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So in this explainer, we're pulling back the veil on the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Welcome to Veiled Histories, where we uncover the stories that have been hidden in plain sight.
We're really guided by those words from the incredible journalist and activist Ida B. Wells. Our mission here is to do just that, to shine a bright light on a history that some people tried very, very hard to keep in the dark.
Okay, so first, to really grasp the scale of this tragedy, you have to understand what was lost. We need to talk about the Greenwood district.
Now, this wasn't just any neighborhood. Greenwood was so incredibly successful, so self-sufficient, that it earned this powerful nickname, and it was reportedly coined by Booker T. Washington himself, Black Wall Street. It was a true beacon of black prosperity right in the middle of the Jim Crow era.
And the scale of it all, it's just stunning. We're not talking about a handful of shops. This was a completely self-contained, thriving economy. I mean, you had the magnificent 54-room Stratford Hotel, the huge Dreamland Theater. Greenwood was living proof of what a community could build for itself, filled with beautiful homes, great schools, and all these amazing institutions.
So how in the world did this vibrant community come crashing down? Well, it all started, as these tragedies so often did back then, with a flimsy accusation and a newspaper that was all too eager to light a match.
Just look at how fast this spiraled out of control. In a little over 24 hours, you go from a questionable accusation to a sensational front-page headline that whips up a lynch mob. And when black residents, many of them war veterans, showed up to prevent a lynching they knew was a real possibility, the whole situation just exploded. A single gunshot in that tense standoff. That's all it took.
And this right here really shows you the dangerous gap between rumor and reality. While the newspaper printed this explosive story, the police chief himself later admitted that the supposed victim had no injuries and that Dick Rowland hadn't said anything improper. So the violence was ignited by a story that officials knew from the very beginning was baseless.
What came next? We can't call it a riot. Not really. That suggests two equal sides fighting. No, this was a full-scale assault on a community. It was an invasion.
Just let that number sink in for a second. The city's own police force handed guns and official authority to about 500 white men. Many of these were the same people who had just been outside the courthouse demanding a lynching. They didn't just allow the mob, they armed it and gave it a badge.
And the result of that? The complete and total annihilation of 35 city blocks. The entirety of Black Wall Street was systematically wiped off the map.
And the human cost was it's unimaginable. Because of the cover-up, we'll probably never know the exact number, but historians estimate that as many as 300 black residents were murdered, with hundreds and hundreds more injured.
And make no mistake, this was not a chaotic riot. This was a planned, organized operation. A whistle blew at dawn to signal the attack. Men, many with military experience, formed up into companies. They even had a machine gun on a grain elevator providing cover fire. Eyewitnesses described seeing biplanes flying overhead, dropping incendiary devices to burn the neighborhood down from the sky. This was a coordinated military-style assault with one goal: to destroy Greenwood. The physical destruction was swift and total, but the effort to destroy the memory of it, that would last for generations. And it's to prevent this kind of erasure that we create these explainers here on Veiled Histories. If you believe this work is important, that these stories need to be told, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps make sure that these histories are never again lost to silence.
So after the burning came the betrayal. The physical destruction was immediately followed by a systematic, decades-long campaign of official silence and cover-up.
What happened next was a total systemic failure, a betrayal at every single level. The city of Tulsa actually blamed the victims. The insurance companies used a sneaky riot clause to deny every single claim. A grand jury? Well, they indicted black community leaders while letting the white perpetrators walk free. And the National Guard? Instead of protecting people, they rounded up and arrested over 6,000 black residents, basically leaving their homes wide open to be looted and burned.
And the betrayal didn't even stop there. The city then tried to legally block the survivors from ever rebuilding. They passed a new fire code that required super expensive materials they knew the now homeless and broke residents couldn't possibly afford. It was a clear attempt to just legislate them off their own land. But miraculously, an attorney named B.C. Franklin fought this from a tent that he was using as his law office, and he actually won.
But that victory was, sadly, a rare exception in a very long and painful struggle for justice that is still going on to this very day.
And that brings us to the really fundamental question that just hangs over this entire history. I mean, what does justice even look like after a century of silence and denial?
The painful, heartbreaking reality is that every single attempt to find legal justice has failed. Back in the 1920s, the courts just shut the survivors down. Then in 2003, a federal court basically said, sorry, you waited too long. And as recently as 2020, Oklahoma's Supreme Court rejected the last major lawsuit. With all the perpetrators gone now, the door to any kind of conventional justice, it's been permanently closed. Which leaves us with this. A recent Department of Justice report pretty much admits that legal accountability is impossible now. But, and this is the crucial part, it makes the profound point that the historical reckoning is far from over. The work of telling this story, of making sure we all understand just how big this atrocity was, of ensuring it is never, ever erased again, that work continues. And honestly, after centuries of silence, that memory might be the most powerful form of justice we have left.